Hi everyone, welcome back to Paper Therapy with Amy. You will recognize this stamp set if you watched my video from last week. I shared a video and I used this stamp set to create a starburst or sunburst pattern in the background of it. So if you haven't caught that video, go back and watch that one. And this will make more sense to you. So a lot of people in the comments were asking what this stamp set was called. It's called Pattern Pennants. And if it's close to my heart's closed, but also it's long gone. This is from early days when I was just starting out as a consultant back then, and rather than a maker even, and I'm sure it's from 15 years ago. So, but I thought, you know, there's other ways to make starburst patterns. So today we're going to use one of these pieces of heavy paper that comes in the Stampin' Up. So this is from the Country Lace, and in the Stampin' Up paper packs, and we're going to create a template. There's different ways to create templates. So what you could do, before I cut it, I'm going to actually show you. So let's take, pardon me. So what you could do is you could start like this, and you would, a nice long ruler is very useful for this. So I have a really long ruler from my husband's university days, nice long one. And you want to find a point that you want to burst from. So you could make it in the center, or you could make it down here and have it go like this. Or you could cut it up here and have the small bursts going this way and large bursts coming this way. I'm not going to do all those things. There's other videos available, and you can look up templates probably, and there's even free printable templates out there. But I want to show you how to make a particular one that's going to work with my layout. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this in half. And there is a method to my madness. There's a reason I'm doing this. So what I want to do is I really like 2-page spreads. So I really want this is also from my husband's university days. I really want my specific starburst, I guess. I can't think of what to call it. Sunburst, starburst pattern to continue across 2 pages. And I want it to go on the upper portion of my pages. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a pattern across 2. And so what's really helpful when you do this is to tape it down. So I'm going to I have this Post-it removable tape. I will link that down below. I just get it off Amazon. And we're going to tape these together. And then we're going to tape this down to my mat for now. I do have a bump I'm going to go over here, but that's okay. So what you're going to do is you're going to find the point that you want your burst to start from. And I think I'm going to start from here because I think I'd like to put maybe some pictures and a title here, and then the bottom half of my page is going to have pictures on it. So you make a pencil mark in the spot where you're going to start from. So I think I'm going to start from right here. Maybe even, that's okay, I think. And then what you want to do is you want to drawing your lines like that. Now, if you want them evenly spaced apart, you can do that. So then what you want to do is you want to make sure, like, you can use the width of your ruler, or you can measure the side and make tick marks. So if this one is and just over 1.5 inches, then you want to go just over 1.5 inches every time. So we go to there, and then we'd make a mark here, and then we'd go mark to mark. But I don't actually want that. I want them all different sizes. I don't really care if they are perfectly, whatever, symmetrical, I guess, the same size. I do know that I don't want one going straight up and down, so I'm going to lean a little bit to the side here. And then as I continue to go to the right, drawing my lines, when I get to the point where I have to go across both pages, then I make sure my line continues across both. And sometimes I will have to move the ruler down and on the same kind of trajectory so that your line continues all the way through. And this way it'll continue on to both pages from one page to the next, which looks really nice. In preparation for making this video and creating this layout, I did do a lot of practicing on scrap pieces of paper, and I did also read some different blogs and watch some videos on how to do a sunburst pattern or a starburst pattern. And I found one particular video that was very helpful. It's from Allison Davies, and you will notice that one of the layouts on that video is very similar to this layout. So that's where I drew my inspirations from. So I wanted to mention that, and I will link her video down below so that you can go and see how her layout turned out, and it's just beautiful. So I strongly suggest you head over and watch that video if you like this kind of pattern, because she gives you all the tips on how to do it. As much as possible, I used my trimmer to cut these lines because then I knew for sure they were very straight. Once in a while, especially if you're doing the full size sheet of paper, it will not be possible for you to cut in the trimmer because you'll need to angle it to a point where it won't fit in your trimmer. So then you'll just do it with the scissors, get a long scissors and cut as straight as you can, but do not trim it afterwards to make it straighter. Just one single cut, because otherwise you'll have gaps in your starburst pattern at the end. As I cut these, I am also numbering them. I'm doing that so I will know how to put them back together afterwards, and so that I'll know which bursts continue on to the next page. So when I get to the point that I'm cutting them so that they continue on to the next page, I'm going to number them the same as the continuation on the next page. So here we have our template. So now what we're going to do with this template is we are going to draw, and I'm going to use this paper here, and we are going to draw these lines on the different papers that we want to use. I'm not going to show you how long it took me and every piece that I cut, because it is a little bit labor intensive, but I think you're really going to like the result. You can cut these by hand if you're a straight cutter, but the nicer that they are cut and traced, the nicer the starburst or sunburst will look on the page after. Right now you see me using 2 shades of peach from the Country Lace paper packet, and then there's also another sheet in there that is from my stash. It is a mix-in sheet from Close to My Heart previously. And I do end up changing out one of those peach sheets of paper. So you're gonna see that the other sheet of paper I use, I change out. One thing that's good to remember is if you choose paper with an orientation, you do have to make sure that you keep the orientation correct when you are cutting your pattern. So you'll see in a moment that I use the cloud paper from Take to the Skies. And I definitely had to be careful. I would recommend, if you end up doing that, that you cut the cloud paper in half and then you lay your burst pieces on there in the orientation that they'll be on your page, so that when you have your clouds, they're not going up and down or back and forth, but they're all going the way they're supposed to look in the sky. I happen to have some very inexpensive white paper. It's quite thin. It's not very good paper, but I just used it to put my starburst pattern on. The reason that I did this was so that it was like a piece of pattern paper and I could choose to cut it down later if I wanted to. And I do end up cutting it down because I really want to have a frame around the outside of the layout. I used my Barely Art glue to glue these in place very carefully, making them as tight as possible, especially at the wider end. The bottom edge isn't as important because I'm planning on covering that up with some pictures and a title, but the outer side of the starburst needed to be nice and tight together. I trimmed these 2 panels down to 5.5 by 11.25, and then I ended up cutting that quarter off, so it was 5.5 by 11. When I trimmed, I made certain that I was trimming from the outer portion so that the part in the middle would still meet properly. You can see here how I changed to the cloud paper, which I end up really loving. I wasn't sure. I kept cutting a piece and putting it down and thinking about it and then cutting another piece. And in the end, I do really love how it looks. I did have to cut several pieces twice because it was difficult to make sure the orientation of the cloud was correct. So like I said, I would recommend cutting the paper in half, the cloud paper in half, and then laying the template on right exactly the direction it's going to go on your page so that you have the clouds going across the page in the right way. In this particular layout, your eye really follows this burst pattern. So I am laying out my photos in a linear way so that your eye is drawn to the photos there that are going to be at the start of the burst, and then you look across the page. My photos only really took up one strip, so I wanted to have the same kind of border all the way around the outside. And that's why I'm absolutely dry fitting everything right now and making sure that it's laid out exactly how I want it, trimming a little bit off my pictures so that the gaps in between them are the same size before I commit and glue anything down. The paper with the clouds on it, I believe, is boho blue, and I did not have any cardstock in that particular color. I only had one sheet of cardstock from a long time ago at Close to My Heart. It's this one here, and it matched pretty perfect, but it's the only sheet I had, and I wanted to bring some blue onto the page. You can see it has a resist pattern as well, but I'm just going to ignore that. You barely see it because I cut these small strips to put on top and bottom just to sort of cap the page with a more eye-catching darker color. It was really important to glue this page down straight and having the same amount of white gaps showing the background paper, so I was really careful to glue it down correctly. You see here there's a little bit of yellow in this background paper with the little spots on it, and so I'm going to use some yellow behind this picture of my husband and I, but I wanted to double matte it. Yellow is a hard color for me to work with. I don't know why, it just is. So I only like to use tiny little bits of it. For my title, I dug deep into my Close to My Heart stash. This is an old stamp of the month, and the other one is a stamp with the word beautiful. I created this circle, which I think really kind of mimics a sun, so I really like that. And it says life is, and then I'm going to add beautiful under the picture of my husband and I, and sort of in the sky of the picture of me going into the water there. I found this punch at my local thrift store and thought maybe some sunny yellow scallops along the pictures would look nice. I did ink this entire layout in charcoal ink because I really wanted to show the seams between the papers and also toned back the yellow a little bit. This is Close to My Heart's Honey Butter Yellow. I had quite a few beach selfies from Hawaii, so I just kind of wanted to put them all together on one page. I do have a few more that are from specific beaches I want to make layouts about. But this one here, I didn't really care if I had a layout about every one of these beaches. And sometimes I just had one quick snap of us. And I just kind of wanted to put them all on here, showing all the relax and beach weather that we had. I remembered I had this die cut for this circle. It's kind of like 3 interlocking rings, and I thought it would really help me mimic that sun there on the life is part of the title. I brought in this tropical looking fern, and even though there's really no green on this layout, I did stamp it in green. I felt that green just looked right, and I also think you can get away with green on a layout when you don't have that color in other places when you're adding foliage, because foliage is really just supposed to be green. Next, I brought in a few more die cuts that I've just shown you there. I am using these circles to kind of repeat that circle. It is a die cut that comes with the Seaside Wishes stamp set and dies, and it's just kind of an oceany shell. And then the other shell is from my Close to My Heart stash, and I sanded that one a little bit so that it would show there's little cuts in the shell to give it its detail, and that just showed off the detail a little bit more. There's a little bit of real estate on the bottom of this picture that is just basically water, so I kind of overlapped onto that with this little embellishment cluster and then added a little phrase from a hiking stamp set that works perfect here. To complete a triangle with a third point, I'm going to add journaling strips over here and one little stamped image from this stamp set. It says beach time and it looks like a towel. There is a little sand or bubbles stamp that comes with the Seaside Wishes stamp set, and I just want to add a few little sprinkles of sand here and there on the page as kind of a base to add a few little dots or gems. I believe these are the multifaceted gems that I use to finish off the layout. They look to me like little driplets of water. I have to say that this is one of my favorite layouts that I've ever made. I really love how it turned out, and I even like the clouds when usually I don't love cloud paper. If you love this layout as much as I do hit that thumbs up down below. It really helps me out on YouTube. Also, subscribe if you haven't done so yet, and leave me a comment letting me know what you thought of this video. Thanks so much for watching and stopping by my channel and spending time with me. I will catch you all next time here on YouTube. Bye!